How was being an athlete, and especially being a starter?
I tell athletes, they don't know how special they can be in a business environment simply because you don't know what you don't know. No. A lot of people have a misconception about a mentor. For me, school has always been easy for me. So I'll say, like, I made a 29 on the ACT and I took it in the 10th grade, bro.
What's going on? Welcome to another edition of Athletes Wisdom Podcast. Here where we help college athletes understand how to not only build and grow their own business, but understand how to master branding and marketing as well, especially in this hectic NIL space. Today, I have an amazing guest with me, and you all know that I always bring good guests with good game. This is my guy, Zaire. What's going on, Z? How you feeling today, man?
What's up, Alex, man? I appreciate you having me, man. It's a blessing. And first off, I just want to speak what you're doing for the community of college athletes. You know what I'm saying, man? I think it's big. And it's imperative because it's something that we didn't have, like for somebody to bridge that gap as far as what that looks like and filing your LLC or being your own entity. And simply, I know NIL made it popular, but monetizing yourself as a brand, bro. So,
hey, man, I'm glad that you're able to take the time to be on the podcast, man. I know we've been trying to do this for some months now at this point, so I'm finally able to get to it. So I wanted to ask, how was your college journey? Like, how was your college experience when it comes to making money and being business minded, especially at a time in which there was no NIL?
The thing is, bro, the more and more NIL gets popular. So look, this is the crazy thing. So back when I was in school, which was only 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, bro, right before NIL stopped, I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm in college. And the thing is, I was a starting player when I was there. Even from my freshman year, sophomore year, bro, I've been a starter since like a young guy. So I was a pretty good player. But unfortunately, the only people that were getting monetized, and I tell you, even as a recruit, like I tell people all the time, we used to get paid under the table, but it still wasn't nothing like NIL to where it was contracts and you get paid at a certain amount of time. So for me, what that looked like, man, was we got the regular stipend checks, and for me, hell, my mom did hair, and fortunately she didn't make that much money, so I was able to get the Pell Grant. And I got full Pell Grants, bro. So having full Pell Grants, I was able to put up on top of, and I can give raw numbers, bro. On top of the 1,100 that we got every month, I probably get like 5,700 for Pell Grant each semester.
Well, how was being an athlete, right? And especially being a starter for so long, how did that help translate mentally into the business aspect of what you do?
I think for me, bro, 3 words immediately come to my head. And one is innately more competitive than a lot of people in their environment. Another one is I'm going to be persistent. And the third one is I can take constructive criticism. Those are the 3 things that come to mind. And even with dealing with mentorship, bro, and I tell athletes, like, they don't know how special they can be in a business environment simply because you don't know what you don't know. Like, if you can take those same practical things that you do on a day-to-day basis with a coach or with a team or with a higher authority in the sports world, bro, and translate it to business, it's almost like cheating.
And I'm sure we all know, like, I feel like every student has asked this question at least one time in their entire school career. And the question is, how is this going to translate in real life? Like, when am I actually going to need this in the real world, right? And some of the things, a good portion of the things, yes, it does help in the real world in some way, shape, or form. But a lot of the things they were teaching us was just fluff, and you really didn't need to know, and it wasn't really as important and as, didn't play as big of a factor in the real world that a lot of teachers and professors like to make it seem.
For me, school has always been easy for me. So I'll say, like, I made a 29 on the ACT and I took it in the 10th grade, bro. So even coming out for school, like, I didn't have to study. I only studied once. That's what I was telling people. Like, my thing is, I used to, like, when I got to higher learning and my coach used to make us go to certain stuff, talk to professors about certain things. I'm like, okay, and it's the same. I put this in perspective for people too all the time. It's the same for, like, playing football, basketball, or hockey, and they hadn't played the sport. It's like your knowledge almost a little bit kind of like clouded on respecting if they actually know, like, being in that framework of that situation.
With NIL in place, right, it kind of brings back a bit more of that advantage, right? Because a lot of us are still essentially conditioned that you got to go to college in order to be successful, right? But you
Yes.
always hear about a lot of people who get out of college and don't even use the degree that they've studied in, and they end up going into an entirely different profession, and then they wasted a whole bunch of money. But now with
Yes,
NIL,
sir.
it kind of interjects that extra possibility for not only, because we always hear about the broke college student stigma, right? And then we all know college students in general are busy, so college athletes are even busier because they play a sport and then
Yep.
all this extraness, right? So now with NIL, I feel like it increases the amount of value that a student is able to get while they're in school for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, because they're still in school and they have the opportunity to learn something, right? But now with the NIL spotlight, you can take what you learn and be able to start your own business much easier. And then a large reason, you and I both know this, right? One of the biggest reasons a lot of businesses fail is lack of capital, right? And lack of
Yep.
knowledge on how to use certain capital that they get, or even just lack of knowledge on how to gain capital. NIL is now
Mm-hmm.
like that venture capitalist fund essentially, but just for you,
Yeah.
right? Like you're able to essentially
Yeah.
get that business credit, quote unquote, but directly from a lot of these companies. And then it just turns into, okay, now providing them with the proper tools so they can understand the financial literacy aspect. Talk to a lot of college athletes that are in the NIL space, and they say one of the biggest things that they weren't aware of and didn't really pay attention to when NIL first started was contracts and taxes, right? They didn't
That's what I was just
understand
gonna
how to
say. Yeah.
properly, read or understand with the contract that was in front of them, right? And then when they do get the money, right, boom, they so used to, if they did work a job, right, taxes is already taken out, so they ain't got to worry about it. But now we're kind of entering that entrepreneurship field, right? So now you're getting paid as a contractor, right? Now you got
Mm-hmm.
to pay those taxes back. And
1099s. Yep.
exactly. And I kind of want to use that to pivot a little bit into how has being an entrepreneur right after NIL and then going into what you've gone into the Airbnb and acquisition space, how has that helped you in understanding business better? And what tip can you give to a college athlete that's watching this right now on their entrepreneurship journey?
Bro, I think the biggest thing for me was first thing I do is give the athletes a tip, because I think when you first said it, the one thing that went in my head, bro, is being in this space. I can see like, okay, I was fortunate enough as soon as I got out of college, like I said, I got in sales and I was able to do like high volume sales in my own company as soon as I went to a mentorship and learned practices of actually making an offer. So what I would tell these kids, man, is my biggest fear is just like you said, okay, you and I both know, Alex, it's one thing to earn a lot of money, but then there's another thing to also spend a lot of money, because you can also do, like, a lot of people essentially do both. Like, you know what I'm saying?
They
Especially if
really
you don't
spend more
have,
than they make.
there you go, and you don't really have that mentality shift of, even if, yeah, NIL is good, but it's also dangerous. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's good, but dangerous. So that, like, what I would tell these athletes to do, like you said, if they don't have the foundation of knowing what to do with it, whether it be taxes or whether it be these contracts, my first thing that I would see myself and envision myself doing if I was 18, 19 years old, and 25-year-old me would say, hey man, get with somebody who has done six figures in branding or six figures in marketing for themselves, or with a company, and to figure out what the scope looks like, because like you and I both know, you're going to lose a lot more money, and whether that's paying taxes or whether that's fees or getting screwed out of money on a contract just because you voided something or posted some or did something with another company that you weren't supposed to do.
Exactly.
And now you promoted this company and voided a contract with another. Like, it's so many different things in the entrepreneur space where I've learned, bro. And I think the biggest thing that I can say, the biggest thing, Alex, and I know you asked me about virtual assistants, bro, but the biggest thing, especially if you're going to be like NIL and y'all, if they want to do this shit for real, like have a business, have a brand, and do it for real, like it's going to be about delegation and learning the knowledge about systems, bro.
Exactly.
Like, if that's gonna be the biggest key, because what they need to think about is athletes. See, when they get a lot of money, they want to be rappers. They want to be, and I ain't even trying to say
They're
shit
trying to
up
be
and dribble or
flashy
nothing
and all
like that.
that.
But my thing is, bro, keep this shit simple and do what got you there. So like what I say is, if you start making a lot of money, don't think, okay, now I need to have a clothing brand. You can monetize your merchant, but don't be the head of the clothing brand. Like, you know nothing about getting off clothes. You know nothing about stock. You know nothing about SKUs. You know nothing about cloth. You know nothing about the churn rate. You know nothing about LTV. Like, it's so much thing they know the bread and butter to. But my thing would be stick to what you know and delegate what you don't know, so it's 10 times better.
Exactly.
So, like, man, these athletes, that's one thing I say, man, is in the entrepreneur space, like I know we like to think we know everything or we have confidence that we can do everything. And you can do anything or everything you want to in the world, but it's a more efficient way to do stuff and it's ways that's going to take you way longer. If you want to expedite that process, man, find somebody that's doing it and just get the game from them, bro. Like whether that be putting a team to doing it or one single person.
Of how you've been able to kind of build a team, delegate, and how you've been able to put
Yep.
systems in place, right? Because you have all these people that do Airbnb and do acquisitions, and I'm not saying that's not
Yep.
valuable, right? Real estate is one of the best ways to grow wealth, but you can learn that from a lot of people. A lot of people talk about that, but a lot of people don't talk about the building the team, the delegation, and the systems aspect. So I want to kind of ask you more on how has that been key in growing your business, and what can one actionable step a college athlete can do right now to kind of further and build better systems and delegations in their business?
So my thing is, Alex, bro, I get so excited when people ask questions like that because they be like, bro, like everybody do B&B. What make you different? Like, you know what make me different is I know systems and I know SOPs, bro. Like it's a completely different way to get involved with
And for those who
Airbnb.
don't know what SOPs mean, it stands for standard operating procedures. It's basically, let's just say you go to McDonald's and you to work there, you know, when you were 16 years old and they pop that little VCR or DVD. Some folks don't know about VCR. They pop the DVD in and show you the recording on what to do in your job. That's essentially what SOPs are. It's basically a step-by-step process on what needs to be done for a particular task in a particular position.
So yeah, man, like I appreciate that, Alex. But the thing is, bro, it's like once I got in the space of like, okay, because when I first started Airbnb, it was just me. So I'm like, okay, and it's so crazy. Like I told you, it's crazy how when you have different skills, they start to correlate and like mesh. Because okay, first, like I told you, and I'm gonna give people this breakdown because they need to understand the concept of how yourself as an entrepreneur and growing intrinsically can help your business grow and help your delegation process too.
Right. Like there's a reason we see all of these wealthy individuals, right? Like I'm gonna use Trump for a good example. Trump, especially when he was in presidency, they was trying to get that man taxes, and they were surprised this man ain't paid taxes 1 year. And they're like, how did he not pay taxes? But I didn't pay blah, blah, blah in taxes. And the reason why is because he knows how to use the tax code, right? And I'm saying that I'm only using an example to say that he was able to, either him or somebody on his team, right, was able to study and understand how to essentially avoid all these taxes, right?